Welcome to the Global Retreats Play Shop. Today's focus is all about your master plan. My name is Alex Iglesia, and thanks for being here. I created the Global Retreats group a long time ago as yoga retreats with the idea of waking up the world. And now, as we embrace all kind of retreat leaders, the focus really is on being a global retreat leader. And sometimes we're backing up. Okay, thank you. So today's pretty special because we've got a special guest speaker, and I'll be introducing Natalee in just a minute. Natalee is someone I've been working with for a while, and I've seen her work some magic with some pretty big retreats. Some of the experiences I've seen her deal with were sort of like fast turnarounds on retreats where the leaders were trying to get things done on their own, and they were not working out well, and they had some last minute big changes, and they called Natalee in to fix everything, and she did. And I'm gonna say a little bit more about her in a second, but that's why I brought her on, because she knows her stuff. And the problem that I've faced as a retreat leader, and the problem that I've seen a lot of leaders deal with, especially when they're very visionary, very creative, very heart-centric, is the planning part. It's just not obvious what we need to do. If we haven't spent 25 years in the industry planning retreats and managing events, it's not obvious. And for those of us who have been doing some of that work, some of it might be obvious, but when we want to upgrade our mindset around profitability, or upgrade what we even think is possible, it's so helpful to have an outside eye, someone who's just immersed in planning. So that's why we're focusing today on the master plan. And we created this together, and we sat down to think, like, what's going to be the best takeaway? So we created this 90-minute play shop to focus really on 5 things. First, the where and the when, like the nuts and the bolts. What's the vision? You've already got the general idea. And if you're still working a little bit out what that idea is or what it could be, you're going to do great today. But we're going to start with the where and the when that Natalee's going to talk about. And there's a few other pieces that I'm going to leave for her. And we're also going to look at what might be stopping you. Where might there be the blocks? And so we'll be moving through content and experiences so you can tune up your plan. So by the end of our time together, where you're watching this live or as a replay later, going through this information 1, 2, or more times should be able to get you quite a few more steps ahead in your retreat plan, feeling really good with it. And then if you want more connection with Natalee or myself, we do have a couple of ways that you can get specific focus about the travel planning and specific focus about what is your clarity. So while I introduce Natalee, would you write in the comments, in the chat, and if you're watching this and it's not live and there's no chat, write it down on a piece of paper. What do you want to get out of this time now? What are your questions? And if you could get them answered, what would make the biggest difference for you? So write them in the chat, or at the very least, write them down on a piece of paper for yourself so that you can really be listening for what you need. While you're doing that, in the chat or on paper, I'd like to introduce formally Natalee. So Natalee Fox is the owner of the Travel Concierge. She's been in the travel industry for 25 years. She started when I was 2. You started when you were 2, in a way. And most of that time was focused on planning big corporate retreats around the world for amazing people. So like discerning clientele. One of the things she told me was that she was creating products and services. So she's really got that creative mind, but what we're going to see today and get a lot of is the get it done mind. Right now, the Travel Concierge is her own agency, and she focuses on helping people live their bucket lists. And that's why retreat leaders are such a great match for what she does. Natalee, can you come on and share with us? You wrote to me about your favorite travel experience in Miami. Would you tell us why that was unique and how it's relevant to retreat leaders?
Sure, absolutely. Hello, everybody. I'm excited to be here today. I shared with Alex kind of how or what inspired my concept in my business. The bulk of my industry experiences with the hotel sector. Spent 20 years deep in that industry, and I was blessed to work with large groups all over the world and put together retreats, corporate events, trainings, you name it, we did it. And however, there was one particular gentleman that I worked with quite a bit. We named him, or he was called Uncle Bob. And he just was this jolly old man, and I adored him. But what happened on this particular trip, we had a very large group that we were traveling to Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and we were doing a 2-city tour of all of our hotels and helping people learn about the city. And we'd been traveling on the airplane, and we'd gotten on our big bus, and we were arriving at our first hotel. And as I was walking into the lobby to meet our hotel coordinator, this big gentleman came up to me and asked me who I was, and I said yes. And he's like, "Would you mind coming with me for a minute?" And I, at first I was like, okay, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I followed him, and we ended up going down some kind of secret corridors. We went up a secret elevator, and at the end of that, I ended up in a really large, beautiful presidential suite. I had no idea what was going on. About 10 minutes later, in walked Celine Dion and her husband. And at the time, I still am, but was a huge fan of her, and Uncle Bob knew this, and he had connections to make this meeting happen, and just blew me away. They had planned a secret dinner. I got to sit down and actually enjoy their time, learn from her, speak with her, just a beautiful, beautiful person that she and her husband is. And then later that night, they invited our entire group to one of her concerts, and I was a special guest in a VIP suite and everything. So literally he made a dream come true for me. And I walked away from that knowing that that's the impact I wanted to have on people forever. I wanted to use my experience. I wanted to be able to help people enrich their lives through their bucket lists and give them experiences that they've only dreamed of, and let's make those a reality. So that really is what helped bring to life my business, my concept, and what we're doing a little bit here today. So
thank you, Natalee.
Yeah.
So welcome, everybody. We're about to dive in. I hope you got paper, pen, computer stuff to take notes with. I'm going to start with Kim's question. You don't have to answer this directly, but let us know. We're going to be answering it. And then, Natalee, the show is yours. So Kim's asking, how do you know what program, workshop, and activities to include in the retreat? And how do you effectively engage participants during the retreat? So I do believe we'll be answering that in a lot of ways today. So good. Thanks, Kim.
All right, perfect. So yes, Kim, we will be answering all of those questions really clearly. So what I thought I would do to help you guys get a really high level of things that would be key to your success, and also key to living out your own dreams through your business. It's about making impact to people, but we need to impact and enrich our own lives. And so what I'm hoping I can teach you is kind of the basics of what it is that you should be looking for and thinking about in a retreat, and how you can get resources and help to do that. Or if you're choosing to do it on your own, which is fine, some of the pitfalls, things that you can watch out for. So I thought we'd go on a little road trip. And at the beginning of every trip, it's kind of important to know where you're going and when. And it's the same for retreats. So when you're thinking about where you want to hold your retreat, it's okay to dream big with this. Think about places that you want to go. Think about places you've never been, and just start brainstorming what the possibilities are. Don't close yourself off thinking, oh, I could never do an international retreat, or I could never take my clients somewhere. You can do this, and why not go and participate in somewhere that you've always dreamt about. So getting clear and having some really fun ideas about where you might want to go is the first thing you want to start with. So I guess one of my questions I'd love to see in the chat is just thinking for about 30 seconds, where's somewhere you'd like to go? Something that maybe you've already considered, but throw out some ideas. I'd love to hear what you're thinking in terms of the where. Where would you like to hold a retreat? It could be domestic, it could be international, just wherever. Yay, Italy. Yes, Kim, Bora Bora, fantastic. These are great, great. So yeah, knowing the where is the first place you want to start. Then we need to talk about the when. And this is sometimes, Sacred Valley, Peru, yes. Wonderful, wonderful excursions and activities and tours. That's a great retreat location. So a lot of people get really excited then once they've come up with their where, and maybe not be familiar with that region or when is the best time to be going. So there's a couple of things I want you to think about when you're determining the when. First is the timing of it. If you're doing a domestic retreat, really, truly, you need to have your place, your where established and know the location no less than 9 months in advance. 6 months can be done, but you will find that you're going to be limited on your options. So domestically, I would say no less than 9 months. Internationally, truly, you need to be in the planning phases a year out. Destination locations are, they get booked quickly, especially depending on the size of your group. If you're looking for, say, like with Alex, if you want to go and you're going to do a villa somewhere in Tuscany, to get the right location, you're going to need to make sure that you're planning well in advance. So I always recommend and work with my clients to make sure that we're having these conversations and really finding that location a good year in advance. The next piece in the when is understanding the best time to travel to your location. If you're choosing Sedona or Santa Fe, you're probably not going to want to go in the middle of summer. You and your peeps are going to melt. You don't want to travel to a region where their seasons are opposite than us. It may be warm here, but you're choosing to go during the middle of winter in their time and area, and that can affect what you're trying to achieve with your retreats. So those are two big things that you would want to keep in mind. Again, make sure you're planning far enough in advance, and then really understanding the region that you're going to be traveling to and seasonality and the best place for that. Any questions or thoughts around those two things? Okay, awesome.
I want to check in with everybody who's here. You post, Kim, you posted where you'd like to go. Who's got an event scheduled, or who wants to schedule an event? So put in the chat, like, do you have something scheduled? Is the next step to schedule something? I'm just curious where you're at, because the where and the timing, it can be so, I know for me, it can be really daunting to think, oh God, 6 months out, 9 months out, 12 months out, I want to go now. And it's sort of challenging. So I'm just curious where everybody's at. Cool. Okay, so you're planning. Good. Awesome. Tanya, you got great. So, and hopefully this will still be really helpful for you to tune up more your planning, even though you got stuff coming.
Perfect. I love it. In 3 months of them. Perfect. Wonderful, everybody. Okay, so the next part is maybe goes back to part of Kim's question is, and that relates to kind of the next mile marker in our little road trip. It's the what. What do you want to create with your retreat? You know your businesses, you know what your clients are going to be seeking, but what experience do you want them to have at your retreat? This is where you get to really start having fun and being imaginative of what this retreat can look like. It's really fun if you can bring your brand to life with the location that you are seeking. So if you are a wellness coach, if you're a life coach, then maybe finding something tropical, beautiful, relaxing. The possibilities are endless, but really kind of use your intuition as to what this retreat's going to look like. What do you want them to experience besides the transformational pieces that you would most likely be taking them through? What experience do you want them to have? Think about if you want this to be an adventure retreat or if it's a healing transformational retreat. Maybe you want to build around some culinary experiences. Maybe you want it to be a wine and food theme. This, again, it's where you get to start having some real fun in developing what this theme is going, or what your retreat is going to look like. The activities is a key piece in kind of creating what this retreat looks like. So when you're dreaming and you're thinking about all the bucket list things on your list and maybe activities you want to do, maybe you want to have an adventure retreat in Costa Rica because you've always wanted to go to Costa Rica. You want to go zip lining, you want to do all the fun hiking and all of that. Make sure your clients are going to want that too. So it can get really, it can derail their experience if you're building in activities that everybody has to participate in that doesn't fit their comfort zone. So I always suggest, especially with adventure type retreats, make sure you are being fully aware and make some of those things optional. I'm working on a large Costa Rica trip right now. That's why it came to mind first. And it's been very, very fun looking at the group talk about a possible zip lining tour. They built it in, the people that are conducting the retreat built it into the retreat, but they are making it optional. But watching people transform from a, hell no, I'm not doing that, to, okay, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to do this. So it can be a part of your process. It can be part of the transformation. And again, this is where you get to really have fun and sit down and think about what the options are. If you don't know about what activities or things are possible in the region or the location you're going to, then reach out to your resources. Reach out to people in the industry that have the experience in that location that can really help you design something perfect for your retreat. So Alex and I thought it might be fun at this point to maybe give you some ideas of what could happen on some retreats. I put together a real quick 2-minute video here. These are all activities that I've helped create and build for people in their retreats and in their businesses. So it's just, it's a fun visual. I'm a very visual person, obviously. And let's just take a few minutes. Let's sit back. Let's just watch this and let's start having fun. And if things are coming up for you while we're watching, put it in the chat box. Let us know what you're thinking. Like, oh my God, I never thought we could do something like that. You know, let us know. So, am I good to share the screen, Alex? I think I am, right?
You should be. Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Hold on for 1 second. All right. I didn't get to see, did we get any fun comments? How did that feel? What were some of the thoughts you guys were having kind of watching those locations and activities? I always get wanderlust when I'm working with people.
Yeah, that definitely sparked, just got me in a space of dreaming, which is really nice, and gave me some interesting ideas to go deeper into, like what are the things, what are some off the wall activities that would really match the themes that that this retreat's about. And yeah, I'm curious if anyone got a new idea or expanded on something you're already doing. Would you share it in the chat so we can celebrate you? And just while they're doing that, Natalie, what was the most surprising location or activity you've ever had to arrange?
Oh, geez. Most surprising. You know, some of the more personalized themed, staying in a castle was really fun to research and make that happen with some of my contacts in Europe. Thinking about how you can work in the specialized tour in Rome with the Colosseum is fantastic, and it's just fun to dream. I've done so many of these that each one is interesting. Each one is fun. I haven't really had any really out there ideas. Most of them have been a lot of what you saw shared, but yeah. So I think the ones that are the most fun are the ones that are kind of have a theme, you know, that you're talking about. So that's when we get to really start having fun. Talking about activities, I did want to, outside of making some of those excursions or tours or activities optional, another thing you want to make sure is that you schedule free time for your clients, especially if you're picking a destination location and maybe you're deciding that not all the activities would be included in your retreat. Then part of the draw to get them to that location is that they would have some free time to go and experience that place on their own. So that's another thing to really keep in mind when you're coming up with your activities and the timing of your days and your retreat hours and teaching hours versus activity hours and all of that. So let's see, Tanya. How do you turn the essence of the retreat into a compelling point to catch the attention of potential guests? Love it. Thank you. So, yeah, this is really important. Maybe I'll let Alex speak to this as well. Once we understand what it is that you're trying to achieve in your retreat, that's when we can make the magic happen in the theme of that retreat. So, for instance, let's go to like a culinary retreat. These are individuals that have a true lust for life in experiencing food and wine, and we came up with a way to give them really unique dining experiences and came up with an entire theme around it. It was in Italy, and we got to travel through several different cities and locations, experiencing different cuisine and wine and experiences. We got to go and actually cook and learn how to make pasta in a restaurant. We had dinner one night. They had dinner one night in a local home with some people. So there's just, I mean, the possibilities are endless. And once you get clear on what you want to achieve, then we can have fun, playing with what that theme, and then naturally the people just in your marketing and how you put it all together will bring in the right clients for that particular retreat. Alex, did you want to add anything to that?
I mean, themes are really my ballpark. There's a couple of things I want to say, but as I'm sharing a couple of things for everybody here, what's a theme that you're working with? What's the transformation that one of your next retreats is about? So would you put that in the chat so I can see and get a sense for what is your clarity around theme? What have you chosen? And while you're doing that, one of the things that's coming to me right now is how it's not always obvious. Like the most interesting stuff that's possible with your theme is not the first thing. It's not the most obvious thing. So for example, is generally my global contribution, which is part of the work I do for people, is figure out what exactly is your whole life contributing. The theme is very much from trapped to free, or from buried alive to spirit alive. And so everything I do has some version of that in it. And so, well, buried alive. Well, how about let's go on a retreat where people bury themselves for, at some point, or go into a cave. Interesting, but it's also the first couple ideas. And so it would be really rich to drill very deep into that and to get some outside perspectives. And maybe, I would want to bounce it off of you, Natalie. In fact, you did this with me when we talked about the Gladiator retreat. I've been thinking about this for months. And it didn't even occur to me that, we could go to different areas outside of Rome, because I'm thinking, oh, we're going to have a car and blah, 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 and I don't want to hassle. You come back with me, you're like, okay, so we're going to do a helicopter tour and this. I'm like, yeah, we can do that. I didn't even think of it. So it was so rich. So let's see some of these retreats. So I think my point there that I'm excited about is go really deep, fleshing out the theme and what's possible. So sailing, yoga, Kim's going to go meditate in igloos. Make sure you're warm. A liver kidney cleansing retreat combined with yoga. And so that's cool. Liver kidney. Like, I'm just imagining, what if funny, right? No, I'm not suggesting do this, but what if you had yoga mats made out of recycled bottles? So it's this real interesting, not that everybody there who's decocting their liver were drinking, but just that there's such a match there. Be an interesting layer. I know, I'm crazy. Health retreats, Alexis, and the other weekend in Slovenian country with yoga. Cool. So a lot of yoga, which is great. Afterward adventures, make clients normal food, cleaning your body. So this is not for this conversation, but with all those themes, my challenge to you and what I would walk you through would be, and what's the next level of that theme, and what's the deeper version of that theme, and how is that theme so important to you, and how have you lived that theme? Because those are where the pieces that are going to make it really specific. And then when you get the imagery and the words that are really deep into you, they're going to call forth the people who want to do all those activities. It'll be just a greater match. It makes your marketing a little easier and more fun. Back to you, Natalie.
Okay, I wanted to answer just a few of these questions and maybe just an overall, because there are a lot of health focus here, yoga retreats, which is fantastic. Really quick, Kim, it is not too cold to meditate in the Iceland regions, Norwegian regions. Obviously, yes, it's cold, but for instance, those glass igloos that I showed you, they are all individually insulated. They're extremely warm, wonderful, peaceful environment. I'm thinking of another place. It's pretty remote, but it's built specifically for health and transition or transformational retreats. And they have an entire studio that's on stilts, built just for yoga and meditating. So there's so many possibilities. Don't let the region's seasonality or climate deter you from dreaming about what's possible in those locations. With health retreats and yoga retreats, again, so many amazing opportunities, including your own private villa, having the space and the ability to have all the yoga equipment and everything you need already there when you arrive, so that everything's there and complete for your guests. Lots of opportunities to have a chef come in and do your cooking for you. So if you're working on that liver and kidney cleanse, you obviously want to have the right foods and have somebody there that can help people, one, enjoy it, but two, see what's possible there as well. So bring in an expert, bring in a chef to come in and do the cooking for you. We've done vegan cruises. There's so many things you can do. You can do a private catamaran. I think I saw somebody saying they want to do a sailing somewhere. All of this is all very, very possible. So awesome. Did I miss anything? Let's see. Yeah, okay. I think, yeah, you guys have all got amazing. Oh, that's awesome. You do the cooking with the clients, even better, because then you're teaching them. But yeah, again, each one of you have, it looks like, several different things in the works, and that's awesome. So lots of possibilities for each one of you. So the next part in getting back to kind of our roadmap, we know where we're going. We know when now. We know what it is that we're doing. Now we're kind of in the fork in the road, right? This is kind of the biggest piece of whether or not this retreat is going to be successful and profitable for you. You're all business owners. You're in this to make money. And I can tell you, I have unfortunately seen people who have not done it correctly and have lost money on their retreats rather than making money, which doesn't contribute to your livelihood. It doesn't contribute to your well-being. So this is really an important piece. Understanding your budget and the things that you need to look at when you're considering your retreat. It seems like a simple question, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't have an answer. But do you want to make a profit? Or are you just trying to make sure that you're come out even? You're just trying to bring people in? Obviously, I hope your answer is yes. You want to make a profit. But you need to think about that. You need to think about what you want to make, because that becomes very critical in building out your entire budget. Next thing that you need to decide is, do you want to hold this event alone? Do you want to be the sole person on the ground? Do you want to be the sole person in charge of everything? Or do you want to do it with a team? Because those people obviously need to be compensated somehow. And if you've not built in that compensation into your packaging or your funding and your budget, then that can send you in a downward spiral as well. As far as like activities, these are things people truly don't think about. They get excited about the what and then forget about the details. So some things I want you to think about: are you going to include meals? How many? Are you going to include breakfast every day? Are you going to have VIP luncheon sessions? So maybe you have 2 different types of ticket options. These are things you've got to think about. Do you want a group dinner with everybody? Our evening's going to be out on their own, and you just do one big cocktail hour or something. You have to know what it is that you want to have included in your package. What activities and excursions or tours are going to be included? Are you going to give them the option to choose, opt in or out, and it's just part of your package? All of that. What about for these health retreats, and you're doing lots of yoga and focusing on that, but maybe you have found a beautiful resort and you want to give them some downtime and do spa treatments. Is that part of your package, or is that on them to pay for? Those things take time and coordination. So if you haven't thought that out, you could be setting yourself up from kind of a glitch there as well. What about airport transfers? How are your people getting to your retreat? You'd be surprised how many people say, yeah, we start at 9 a.m. on this day. Good luck in getting there. And then they'll call me up and they're like, I've got people arriving all over the place. It's just crazy. And they start panicking, and maybe you need help in coordinating that. Maybe you want to make sure that somebody is getting your people there in a peaceful manner, in a safe manner, on a timely manner. Don't start your retreat behind because people are late or they didn't make their connections or whatever. Another thing to think about would be client welcome gifts. What do you want them to experience when they arrive at your location? Do you want to have something in the room waiting for them? Do you want to have them greeted with something at the front desk as they're checking in? There's so many different things. Maybe you want to send them a beautiful gift package before they actually leave, and we create customized luggage tags or something really fun to get them, going. So these are all things that you need to think about in your budget before you start advertising. Alex kind of mentioned before, and one of my superpowers is fixing things. It's not the funnest thing to do, so I don't like to do it. But if you start advertising a retreat, we're gonna go to Hawaii, and we're gonna have this beautiful location in Maui, and it only cost you $2,000 to get there. Well, guess what, folks? It's going to cost you more than that, and you're going to be paying out a lot of money because you don't even know where you're staying yet. You don't know what's available. You don't know what those rooms cost. You don't know what the food costs. You don't have any idea. So please do yourself a favor, do your retreat a favor, do your business a favor. Know your budget, know your offering, and know what you want before you start advertising and bringing people in. Any thoughts or questions around your budget? Are there things that maybe I said that you hadn't thought about before? Anything specific that you'd like to know about? We don't need food or drinks from outside, and that makes it difficult to find a location. True, unless you've got the good resources in place. There are plenty of places that you could use that don't have a catering requirement. You don't have to use their locations. You can have a full kitchen available to you, an industrial kitchen for cooking, all of that. So there's options. Don't fret over that. There are options out there for you. Okay, Tanya, if my budget is slightly higher for the clients to pay, how do I justify that with the package price? Good question. How many of you have attended some type of workshop? Anything? I'm assuming we all have. Okay. Did you, and respond if you want or not, but did you sit and think, wow, that just seems like an awful lot of money, and I want to know why they're asking me to spend that kind of money? Or did you want that experience? Did you want that coaching? Did you want that kind of help? Because if you are marketing this correctly and we are creating a budget that fits everything, it's how you package it all together. People are not going to question what you're offering, and they don't need to know the details. They just need to know, I'm going to come work with Tanya, and she's going to help transform my life, and I get to do it in the Caribbean. I get to do it on an island in a beautiful location. You know, if you're marketing it correctly, you don't need to justify your cost, period. You just don't. Okay. Let's see. I saw something that I wanted to. I am taking part of this group because it's my vision to do my retreats worldwide. Are you giving me the strength? Not. Oh, and you are. I'm like, are you giving me the strength? Yes, I'm giving you the strength to not give. Yes. Okay. We got Tanya's question. Kate, is there a good way to work with a hotel for an event without a significant deposit? Yes and no. So again, this comes back to the timing of your planning. Some resorts, it really depends on what it is. If it's a local hotel, they're probably gonna want some type of a deposit. So, and I'm gonna talk about this in just a second, but this is something you build in to the timing and your advertising of your budget. If you don't have money necessarily set aside for that type of deposit, like you need to make some sales first before you can make that deposit, then your timing of your retreat needs to be pushed back even further. Does that make sense? We need to know that in a year, you want to go to Mexico, we're going to rent a villa. Here's what it costs today, knowing and keeping in mind that those costs can change. But here's what you would need to do in order to have that location. They're going to require this kind of deposit, all of that, and then you build that into your component and your pricing. Also, you need to make sure that your deposits cover any cancellation fees. So your deposits, a portion of that needs to be non-refundable, and don't apologize for that. You're running a business, you're running a retreat, and you shouldn't be stuck with the responsibility of someone else counseling on you. Make it profitable. Always keep that in mind, and don't feel guilty about doing that. It's okay. This is how your retreat is going to be successful. Okay. Alex, anything else on that before I kind of throw out a few last ideas on how to use experts and whatnot?
Well, I'm taking a couple notes because you blew my mind a couple times. One of the things you said that I wanted to tweet out right away was, if you're marketing correctly, you don't have to justify the price. Like, that's a huge one. And having the deposits so that if there's a cancellation that I don't go broke, brilliant. I had never heard it that way. And I just feel called to say, like, in 2015, I lived in Hawaii for a year, and my plan and expectation was to be leading retreats, but I never did this piece of the work up front to sketch it out to a degree where I can go, yes, this is real. The next step is to start making phone calls. So it always kind of stayed in the vision form. And the result was I never led my own retreat. I ended up plugging into other people's retreats. And so there was this constant disappointment that year. So I just really want to highlight that this is, if we're not just trying to wing it, we're trying to do it right, we're trying to do transformation, we're trying to have a lot of integrity, and we're not willing to go broke, then this piece of the planning is pretty darn crucial.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, I'm going to carry some of these questions into kind of the next phase of what we're talking about, kind of how you can utilize your pit crew. Basically, you've got to if you want to be profitable, then use your resources, use the experts. It's interesting. I've had some health issues, and I'm looking into these very things that you were talking about, this liver and kidney cleanse, that was very interesting to me that it popped up. But I'm not an expert in that. I would need help with that. So if you're not an expert in doing retreats and all of this, and experts in that region, then reach out, use your resources. The World Wide Web is not your friend all the time when it comes to this. You can get lost, really lost in if you were to just Google like Hawaii retreat locations, I think it brings up like 1.4 million options for you to look at. It can, I mean, you could spend days and weeks just sorting through and not, I mean, it can be overwhelming. So value your time and value what you're doing, and use your experts. So this is a timing question. So Tanya, you asked about the advertising piece. So yeah, if your retreat crosses $1,500, do you advertise about 6 months before? The better question there is not based on, it doesn't matter what your budget, it doesn't matter what your retreat costs. The piece that's critical, and this kind of goes to the contracting, is when is your final payments due? When is that go, no go of this retreat? So, for instance, one of the secrets resorts in Costa Rica, there's a couple of retreats down, or big resorts down there, all-inclusive resorts. One of them only requires a $500 deposit to hold your group space. The other wants about 25%. Then they give you a breakdown of what the next step is. When do you have to make the next payment? And when is final payment due? That drives your advertising. That drives when you need to have those tickets sold. So I can tell you the industry standard for big resorts and locations is full payment is 60 days in advance of your retreat. So yes, advertising and selling those tickets 6 months before your 60 days, that's 8 months in advance that you really need to start plugging out. So again, it comes down to the when, the where, and once you have that location, their particular requirements would drive the backdating and how you move backwards on your advertising to make sure that you're covered and you get the tickets sold in time. So some of the things that experts in our field, I've been doing this a long time. This isn't just about me, but when you are working with travel consultants and people that have done this, you're eliminating a lot of the guesswork and things that you may not understand. There are going to be contracts that you have to sign with these locations. And if you're not familiar with that, there can be some pitfalls there and things in the fine print that you're not aware of. And I would hate to see you sign something that doesn't give you an out. So using an expert, having somebody review those contracts with you is really key. Another big thing is make sure your retreat is properly insured. Are you okay do you have the proper insurance in place for your attendees if something were to happen, if they were to get sick, if they were to be injured, anything like that? How are they going to be taken care of? How are you going to get them home if necessary? What's that look like? So these are things that you need to think about. And if you don't know or understand how insurance works for these types of things, again, reach out to somebody that can help you. Going back to using a team, one of the things I do pride myself on is if you're building out a retreat, do you want to be spending your time in all of this and all of these details, or would you rather be focusing on your message, what that retreat's going to be, and how you're going to market it? If you're trying to coordinate 20 to 30 people all the time, all the activities, all the negotiations, you're taking away from your time and your brilliance and your availability to make that retreat successful. Do you want, and along those lines, having somebody there on the ground? If it's a smaller group of people, less than 10 people, it's doable, where you wouldn't necessarily have to have somebody, but maybe energetically, especially if it's a healing transformation, even 5 or 6 people, you just don't want to deal with their needs, right? If something comes up with their room, or they have an emergency, or they do get sick, you don't want to deal with it. You want to be able to stay in your space, take care of the retreat itself, and let somebody else do it. So lots of different ways you can use different experts and build a team. But again, that really comes down to the planning and the designing of what you want to achieve in your retreat. So yes, I agree. Okay, if I've had travel agent, so yes, 15% is a good height. That's a good standard. 12% is more realistic and more average of what people tend to make. So again, and that comes back to the contracts and the negotiating, because as they're negotiating on your behalf with those hotels and resorts, they will work in most likely their commission into that nightly price, or what that's going to look like. So just know who you're working with, and know what their expectations are up front, and so that you can understand where they're building and how they're building out those prices for you. Any other questions? All right, well, Alex, I hate to overwhelm people. So I know I throw a lot of stuff out there, but I would love to speak to any and all of you if you have more specific questions. It looks like a lot of you are in the process, so maybe if you needed help, maybe ironing out some of these details, I'm here. I would love to talk to you. But Alex, I think I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, thanks, Natalie. Start a round of applause for you. Thank you so much. So we are not done. We've got time. So there's a couple things I'd like to do. One, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to reach Natalie. Natalie and I actually put together a couple things. So I'm going to explain that and what that invitation is. And then there's always more. So I think we could probably get a few more questions. Natalie, I'm speaking to you sneakily, if I ask everybody a couple interesting questions. So I'm going to do that, which could be really useful. One of my favorite questions regarding planning, to figure out what am I not seeing and how do I make this better, is this question. So write this down. There's various versions of it, but the basic question is, what might break? And so I'm going to give this to you right now so you can start to think of questions, because we've got Natalie for about 30 minutes if you want it. So what could break? Now here specifically, if you had the total number of participants ready to give you their deposit today, what would break? What in your systems would break? What in your confidence would break? What would be the next thing you'd be like, oh my God, I have to get what done? So take a minute to write some of those down, because that can be a rich source of information. Yeah, so I love that question. It's like anytime things are just feeling good, I think I'm right? Especially if there's some certainty. It's like, okay, hold on. If my wildest dreams came true right now, what would break? Oh, I wouldn't have enough water. It's like, what? What is it? So what if you don't have the number of participants? So, yeah, okay. So are you asking, Tanya, like what happens when you get to the retreat and you don't have the right number of participants?
So like just to get clear, maybe you're advertising and you want 15 people, but at the go, no go date, you only got 10. Is that what you're asking? Like if you didn't fill it? That, again, remember that goes back to the actual contract and know when you can change your numbers. All locations are going to have a number of rooms that will qualify you for the group rate that they're offering you. They will give you a window of adding more or decreasing, but there is a final number. So say like you're advertising and you've held 15 rooms, but you only sell 9 of them. The cutoff for that location was 8, so you'll be fine. You won't be responsible for those additional amounts that you're going to be canceling as long as you do it according to their contract, their timing, the final payment, etc. So it's okay. It's better to get the space on the front end and know when that cutoff date is. When do I have to release those rooms back to the resort and the hotel? Because after you hit that date, then you do become responsible for it. You're paying for it whether the room is filled or not.
Thank you for that question. I want to approach it for everybody. So now that we have this time and you've got time between now and when your event starts. If we were to imagine you standing upright, inviting your participants to the event, to your retreat, and you want to stand in that space of what I'm offering is enough for the price. So that would be the test. What I'm offering is enough for the price. Now let's assume that the price matches your profitability and it matches the experience that you want. But that truth test is what I'm offering is enough. If you can stand in that, like really feel good, not defensive, not proving, no need to, like, I have to add more. Like, it'll be a really good truth test and see what comes up for you right now in that inquiry of, do you feel like what you're offering is enough? And then it'll lead you to what might you need to shift either in you and the way you talk about your event, or literally maybe you need to do add something, some different languaging for the marketing, or more clarity on what the theme is, or clarity on who it's for. But if you play with where am I not feeling enough with my price, where am I worried about the marketing and getting there with all the people, it will lead you to what you need to do next, which is really, really cool. So I'm curious if that brought up any more questions for Natalee, or any other questions in general with where you're at with your retreat planning, and what else can we contribute to you today? One of the things it brings up for me, Natalee, you and I talked about this, is actually, okay, let me say it this way. Why should somebody hire you, Natalee? You're expensive. You're not cheap. They can do it on their own. And what you and I talked about when we were talking about my Italy retreat was, it's one thing like, oh, maybe people will pay $10,000 for this retreat. But as we talked about it, and we talked about the castle and the helicopter and everything, I said, well, no, this is actually a $20,000 retreat, which felt way more true. Now, I don't have the capacity, the expertise to pull that off, like the logistics. I can lead it, I can show up, but it would only be through partnering with you that I could shift the retreat invitation from 10 to 20,000 and actually pull that off. So it would actually be more profitable for me to hire you than not to, because of all the added expansion that comes with it. And I'm curious if that makes sense to other people, because that was a big flip in my head. Alexis, you're asking, are we covering marketing of retreats? Say a bit more, Alexis, if you're meaning that right now. What exactly you mean by that? Tanya, I'd like to access the maximum people with minimum marketing costs. What would be the best platforms apart from people who already know me? That's really interesting, and I'm curious what Natalee will say. And what I would say is there's sort of four things that are always revolving and always interdependent. One is your presence, your why, your sense of what the transformation is. I'm like, yep, standing in the transformation from buried alive to spirit alive. Check. And then there's the relationship part. Who's your tribe, who's your community, who do you know, who knows you? That if you were to call them, write them, or email them, they'd go, yeah, I'd love to share this. So you want to check with that, because even having one more idea of, oh, I could have this person do something for me and post it. And then you go, well, what could that person post for me that would be the best invitation for my real transformation? And then you help co-create that marketing. And so it's not so much just about the quantity, but the quality of that marketing. And is it really a match for your right people? And are you freaking owning that? Like saying, this is for visionary creative so-and-sos, like in my case, visionary creative entrepreneurs and change agents and artists who want to radically embody their global contribution. If that's not you, this is not for you. Don't look any further. And me just going, yes, there's 8 people out there who want to pay $20,000. I wonder where they are. So that's the first 2 pieces. The third piece is then the form of it, the image you choose, the words you choose. If somebody convinces me to not use buried alive and spirit alive because they think whatever judgment they have, and I go, okay, that sounds like a good idea. No, that was true for me. If I let that go and I don't infuse my marketing with it, it won't work for me, and I'll resist it, and I'll choose the wrong images because I'm trying to get clients instead of being like, hi, this is what I'm doing. So the form of your marketing can really make a difference. Like those gorgeous pictures that Natalee showed. Like there were so many of those that I wanted to sign up for because of the image and the words by themselves. They were just a good match for me. And then the fourth is the action. You're talking to Tanya about doing less but getting better results. I like that idea. So we want to keep going back to the upstream design side of it. You got the plan with the budget because you worked it out with Natalee on one side. You're like, yes, this is the prices and this is the contract and look at the place and all that together for the theme. Who wouldn't want to do it? And from that energy, you do your marketing, your videos and your writing and whatever else, and it all comes together. So all those 4 pieces, the being, the relating, the form and the presentation, and then the actions, if you keep dancing around how those relate to each other, you'll end up with a really tight marketing plan that feels good, in my opinion. That's what I've seen. So, Alexis, you added, so tips on how to reach potential participants. Obviously, there's an existing client base, but so hopefully what I just said added something to that. Natalee, what else would you add to marketing and platforms?
So I want to answer as much as I can here. The marketing of your retreat is another part of the planning process, and it truly is a whole other element than what we're really talking about here today. So that could take us down a whole other train of thought. But let me say this. So there are good ways, especially through social media, even with the changes that Facebook's got coming up, there are ways to have a minimal budget, again, marketing budget that you've built into your overall budget that would allow you to do some key Facebook targeted ads to get to expand your reach. The ones that I've seen that have been the most successful are relevant to kind of what Alex was saying, getting yourself out there. You're talking to your people, you're doing videos, you're posting on Facebook, you are advertising and using your networks and your tribe. Are you part of the right group that's going to bring people to your retreat? If I'm looking to reach more individuals like you, I want to find networking groups that are going to bring me that opportunity. I want to stay focused you can get lost in groups and networking. So be targeted and focused and intentional on what groups you're joining. But you can advertise, you can do it successfully at a minimal cost. There are ways to do it, but I would caution you to say, depending on how big, like Alex, he mentioned he wants to do a $20,000 retreat in Italy and Rome and Tuscany. That's a different marketing angle. That's going to come with a different marketing budget. So you can still do it minimally, but it may look a lot differently than somebody who's trying to, through your current clients and or word of mouth, fill a small yoga retreat in Mexico. That kind of sells itself with your clients and your offerings through your web pages, all of that. So the marketing aspect of it is a totally separate component, but it can be done minimally, and it can be done within your budget that you've created for your retreat.
Cool. Alexis, I'm going to speak to, I'm sorry, not Alexis. Well, this is both of you, and it's kind of marketing related, but connected to the planning. So Tanya, would you write, as I start to say this, with the retreats you've got coming up, as an example, would you pick one and write in the chat so I know what is the core promise or theme? Like I've mentioned Spirit Alive. So what is that for you? That when people come, the thing that they're fundamentally walking away with that's different, would you write that in there? And while you're doing that, because this will be a really cool example. So I believe in a lot of ways that the more upfront things can be decided, planned, or especially with the essence of it, as well as the nuts and bolts of it, the more obvious it becomes of what to do to reach out. And if you're struggling with, like, what should I do, instead of working at that level of doing, like, what are my options at this strategy, that strategy, take one step back into the why or the what. And if you clarify that a little bit, it'll give you some really interesting ideas for what to do. So, Tanya, maybe you don't want to answer, but I don't see one yet. I'll make up an example if you don't want to do that. To your point about a group for retreats on Facebook, question for clarity: do you mean for marketing to them or for learning more about retreats? Okay, well, you're answering that. So sailing with yoga, connect with the magic of life. Okay, so this is an example for everyone. I'm going to speak to Tanya's theme, but please relate this to you. So imagine we take that one idea, no matter where you are in the planning process. You go, okay, let's run this through the magic of Natalee. So you run this through the magic of Natalee, have some conversations with her, and she goes, okay, great, sailing with yoga, connecting with the magic of life. Who are you and why are you qualified to do that? And of course, you have amazing answers to that. What's the location? Why is that an amazing place to do sailing and yoga? Here's a secret. Your reasonings don't have to be true. They just have to be reasons, right? How about it? I watched a video. It's a commercial from Audi today. It's called Ski the World. It's an amazing video. They have a skier, and you know what he doesn't ski on for 4 minutes? Snow. He skis on rocks, grass, the Great Wall of China. He never skis on snow, right? So imagine we put out a retreat that says, come ski on everything but snow. What? It doesn't make any sense. But if you said, come ski on everything but snow because it's amazing, all of a sudden it's like, I want to do that. Come ski on snow because it's different. I want to do that. So any reason will trigger something in the listener's brain and make them either want it or dismiss it. So as long as the reason's true, so first of all, you don't have to have a good reason, you just have to have a reason. But if it is a good reason and one that's connected with you, you get a lot more power in your marketing, but also in your planning. And so Natalee would bring you through and work out all the details, and like, this is the hotel, and this is what it's going to cost, and this is why the cost makes your retreat more desirable. This is why getting true with the cost and putting all the benefits and all the amenities in, and raising the price by $2,000 or $1,000 is going to help you sign people up as opposed to make it harder. So that's sort of running it through the Natalee machine. My view would be something like, where'd it go? Sailing with yoga, connecting with the magic of life. And so right off the bat, I'd want you to be able to sit up and be like, I don't want anybody who doesn't want to connect with the magic of life. Go away, bye. And now for the rest of you, out of everybody in the world who wants to connect with the magic of life, who wants to sail and who wants to do yoga? And I'm inviting you to sail and do yoga to connect with the magic of life, because why? We could start listing reasons just from the little that I know from sailing and the lot that I know from yoga. Connect with the magic of life with sailing and yoga, because you're going to learn to lead. You're going to learn to lead your life through any wind. You're going to be able to take on any storm. You're going to be able to stand at the center of the storm on your mat or off the mat, right? So much comes out of just what's true about your theme. And if you, the more you play with that, the more you, again, go deep and be just like, blah, this is the magic that's erupting out of my heart, connected to my theme. And then you mold that a little bit and massage it a bit into your marketing and your videos and whatnot. Those are the things that are going to attract. Because if I saw you saying, come to my sailing yoga retreat, we're going to connect with the magic of life, because that's what I'm born to do in 2018. There's a reason not even connected to the theme. That's going to make me lean in. She's got a reason. So hopefully that's helpful on both the planning side and the messaging side. And for marketing, for marketing. Okay, so regarding the Facebook groups for marketing, you may have noticed, if you've been in the Global Retreats LinkedIn group for a while, before I changed it to Global Retreats, there were all these promotions about yoga retreats. I'm pretty sure that very few of those got any results out of doing that. So the idea of going to a group where people are there for retreats, and they're fans of retreats or the retreat leaders, and promoting to them, I'd say it might not be a complete waste of time, but it's probably not that helpful. So you want to be really aligned with, what is the group for? Why do they want to contribute to what? So if you created a Connecting with the Magic of Life group, and you just started speaking into that and attracting one person a day, 5 people a day, those would be people who want to know about your retreat. If you went into a retreat group that's all about promoting retreats or learning about retreats, and there are a couple, you might wonder, well, who would trade marketing? Who would promote my retreat if I promoted their retreat? That would be an interesting thing to happen there. But I wouldn't imagine that a lot of those people would necessarily want to go on your retreat when the reason they're there is to promote their retreat. So you want to find a match for what's the group about, that people are there looking for something. If they're looking for the magic of connecting with life, and you were a welcomed member, that could be a very relevant place to market or let them know about your retreat. So hopefully that's helpful in making some distinctions about like groups and which groups to join or which groups to start.
I'd also like to maybe add, in the networking aspect of it, as you're building your audience, go to meetup groups. Get involved with your local other people in your industry. Find people that are interested in the thing that you're going to be teaching. So if it's yoga related, find out where they're hanging out. Find out where they're doing their businesses. What gyms or facilities they are being a part of. With the liver and kidney, maybe it's local medical experts or facilities that you could partner with in advertising your offering. So there are other ways outside of Facebook And social media, I mean, that's a huge and key component. You can't be without it. But there are also other ways for you to build and get your reach out through different, more face-to-face elements, and people to sell your retreat. Maybe you put together a wine tasting for, if it's a culinary experience, maybe you're putting together a wine tasting experience, and you find a local restaurant that would help host that, and you bring in people that have a love for wine. There's so many ways that you can do it, but once you start making those connections, then you can bring them into your Facebook groups, and then your reach is going to start expanding, because then they're going to start talking about it, and they're going to want, oh my gosh, I know somebody who needs this. And then it's the magic of Facebook, right? You start tagging people, you start bringing more people in, all of that. So don't discount your face-to-face networking opportunities when it comes to selling and marketing your retreats as well.
Yeah, and on the face-to-face stuff, I would recommend playing in the mirror just to practice. How do you come across? How do you enjoy talking about your retreat? And find the sweet spot of what you enjoy talking about, and that'll be much more effective when you're talking. So let me check in. Has this been useful, valuable, fun? Put in the chat yes or no, or anything else that's true, please. And how much do you appreciate Natalee right now? Can we then take a few minutes to share about what we created for you, and different ways to connect with Natalee and me about this? Would that be okay? Give me a thumbs up if that would be okay. Okay, great. And then if you don't want to know, then now's the time to log off this video. So we want to travel the world. We want to help people travel the world and wake up the world. So we thought, on one hand, we want to give you the opportunity to connect with Natalee and see if hiring her, or for your planning or for getting your plan done, making it happen, would be useful. We wanted to let you know if there's a way that I can be of contribution with getting you clear on your messaging, what your magic is, embodying that, stepping into that. And we do that work with clients. It's not extraordinarily cheap. It's quite a commitment with Natalee. Like when I hire her to take me on the Italy retreat, it's going to be 6 to 12 month retainer. So and I'm looking forward to that, because $20,000 participants and all the change that it's going to give me and others. And with the global contribution map, it's very, very fundamental to everything that we're doing. And I had a team that invested $3,300 in that. So by themselves, these services aren't super cheap. So we thought, well, what can we do? And we decided to offer you a consult. So there's a free consult just to pick our brain and get a sense for, do you want to work with Natalee? Do you want to work with Alex? Is there something we can contribute? And I'm going to give you that link. And you can sign up and just schedule a time. This is only for people who watched this, participate in this play shop live or after. And but we also wanted a way, like if you knew you just need to get some things done to fine-tune your event that might be in motion already, to fix some things that could potentially go wrong if you wait too long, or to step into your authenticity with your marketing, your messaging, then we wanted to create an interesting way to do that fast. So we put 4 times together to do a deep dive. So it's 2 hours with the 2 of us. So it would be a 3-part meeting for 2 hours. We have 4 times scheduled for next week, or opened for next week. And you get us for a really, really good price for being here. So that option is on the link at the master plan invitation. Oh, you know what? Let me just double check. I think I changed the link name. It's probably not working. Here we go. And if you're watching this as a replay, then you're not seeing the chat, and you'll see this link in the email. So if you could open that and just let me know you see it, I would really appreciate that. Some yeses or nos in the chat. So yeah, so for working with the two of us, what we'll do is it'll be totally custom to use our brains to make your retreat better. So diving into your global contribution, you'll actually get a version of your global contribution map, so you know what is that fundamental deep essence transformation, and that'll empower a lot of your confidence in your speaking and your marketing. And then, like, what are the big pieces that you need for your planning, and Natalie will just fast track you through that. So we just wanted to get it done time available if you are ready, if now's the time to do that. So if you're interested, sign up. We've got 4 times that start on Monday. Natalie, anything else you want to share about that? How excited are you to work with people?
Well, I love what I do. I'm very passionate about this, and I love the reach that I have with people all over the world and the things that I get to do. So I live for this stuff. I love the details. I've got a fantastic team in place, and I get pure joy in helping you succeed. And this is my life. More than half my life now has been doing travel. And so I would love to work with you. I'd love to see your retreats be successful, answer questions you have. It's all about collaboration and helping and supporting one another. If we lift one another up, then we can all be successful. And that's a real key focus for me. So would love to speak to you one-to-one. Just answer questions, whatever you guys need from me. But thank you for having me, Alex. It's been so much fun. Really enjoyed it.
I really appreciate it. Can we get a round of applause, please?
Thank you.
So thanks for your contribution, Natalie, and for making all these retreats so much better. Thanks everyone, global retreat leaders, for participating. And you know how to reach me. And what else? I think we're about done. Any last questions? Anything else anyone wants to say before we wrap up? We got some big thanks. Yeah, good. Alexis, yeah. So there's 3 options. The deep dive is the only paid option. So it's a paid option. It's private consult with the 2 of us together at the same time. So 2 hours for the 3 of us, and we will both give you everything we can to focus on your plan and to focus on your language, your messaging, and the clarity of what you're contributing. If you're not, if it's not obvious that you, and it should already be, but if it's not obvious that you want that, but you do want to understand more detail about the future of working with Natalie, and maybe you just want to hire her and you don't ever want to see me again, then schedule with Natalie, and that's a free complimentary consultation to sort out what should be the right fit. And if you, maybe planning is not the thing you need right now, but you're like, whoa, I need some clarity, I need to own this, I need some design principles for what I'm really offering and what the transformation is, that's what I do. That's my genius zone with understanding your global contribution. And you can schedule a complimentary session with me, and what that'll be about is just sorting out what exactly, what exact work we need to do together. Hopefully that clarifies that. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. See you in the Global Retreats group. See you on email, Facebook, etc. And until the next play shop, bye-bye.